picture yourself at the first chapter meeting where you're rolling out Power Team Certified. It's the first time that the education coordinator is introducing the program to the membership. Everybody's heard about it. In some countries, everybody's been exposed to it, either at one of the events I did or something local leadership did. In some of the countries, some of the members will be seeing this for the first time. So everybody's going to have their Power Team Roadmap workbook. And we want you right now to take out your Power Team Roadmap workbook. What you see on my screen is the document that was emailed to you. So we have two sets of information here. We've got the Roadmap workbook in your hands, which is what the members are going to have. And then we have the information on the screen, or what you have printed out from the PDFs. That's the Train the Trainer document. And so each of the lesson plans, we have an outline of the key points and also a sample dialogue or a sample script for delivering the material to the chapter. During the 3 to 5 minute presentation as an education coordinator, in some of the countries, there's going to be an after chapter meeting training where the people in the group who want to go deeper with the power teams meet as a group, go through the webinars together, go through the lesson plans and the note takers together, and progress that way. And clearly the delivery material that we have for you on these Train the Trainer documents is really a good guide on what should be happening with the group at that after chapter meeting support session. Now, what we'll be doing, you're not rolling this out to the chapters until mid-February. So what we're going to be doing is a weekly support where it's a forum where you can come on, and if you have questions about what are we going to do next week, or here's what happened last week, you know, how do we deal with that? What do we anticipate? And here's our best practices of what we came up with. So now what we're going to do is just kind of take a look at the Power Team Roadmap and open it up and get familiar with the material that the BNI members are going to be looking at. So inside the workbook on Roman numeral page 4, this is our table of contents, and you're going to want to familiarize yourself with the material just kind of as an overview. We're not going to get into, obviously, all 16 lesson plans tonight, but if you haven't had a chance to work your way through the material, take a moment now, just look it over in terms of the scope of the material. And in essence, I had planned on tonight working our way through maybe lesson plan 4 and doing that kind of from an overview standpoint. We lost a lot of time due to technological issues, and so we'll see how far we can go. But let's go ahead and now open to the warm-up exercise on page 1. This is something that you can do the first time that you're rolling out Power Team Certified. I have a PowerPoint presentation that I can make available to you that most of you, many of you have already seen, and that can be kind of a fun thing to do. Could also be used ahead of time to kind of keep some momentum going to preview Power Team Certified a week before you do roll it out for the trainings. So I'll leave that up to the regions to think about how you want to use the warm-up exercise at the chapter level. But now let's dig into lesson plan number 1, and I'm on page 2. So the idea is that first we're going to start from the perspective of the education coordinator at the chapter level. This is the first week. People have been anticipating the rollout, and now's your opportunity to capture their interest, to open the gate of their mind, and to start giving them information that they can see being implemented in what they're doing on the chapter level. So for those of you on GoToMeeting, feel free to type any messages if you have a question, or you want me to slow down, or you have something that I'm not covering. Use that chat box. And for the Skype people, you can just speak up and I'll hear you. Everybody else is pretty much muted on GoToMeeting. So the first lesson plan is really starting at the very beginning. And the idea is that when you're rolling this out to the chapter, we're helping the people who aren't necessarily going to be going through the DVDs and the workbook on their own. Some of the people will. Some of the people, as soon as they get the materials, will go very quickly. They'll do a lot on their own, and they'll be self-motivated. But what I want you to think about is the entire group. I want everybody in the chapter who is participating in the program to receive more referrals. And in return, they'll give more referrals. So it's everybody in the room. We're trying to lead them along because most of them aren't going to be doing a lot of this on their own. And that's why we start out with the basics. So as the education coordinator rolling it out, the outline of key points is what you should say to yourself. These are the main things we're going to be covering. And then the delivery is simply my way of presenting the material, kind of a dialogue. You do not have to take this word for word by any means. I don't want you to do that. You can if you have to. If you feel like you have to read the delivery, that's one way to do it. But I'd strongly recommend that you make some bullet points for yourself after you've prepared using this delivery and say it in your own words. So specifically speaking now, the first presentation, you're going to start out with a shared vision. Okay, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this as a group? And the answer is Power Team Success. So this is kind of like a little pep rally where we're reminding people of the reward. We're going to ask you to do some work, but before we ask you to do the work, we want to show you the reward. We want to make it fresh, we want to make it exciting, and we want to make this a team effort. So, question? YC? Okay. All right. So once we get through the shared vision, then we're just going to make it a point that there's terms and concepts that people are going to be familiar with. You're going to be reminding them to start watching the webinars, and then you're going to be doing a preview of next week. And what happens in the second week is the BNI director presentation number one. The first BNI director presentation comes into play. And so we really start moving the chapter quickly into forming bragging buddies. So again, this first outline, this first presentation on the chapter level is you're going to get them excited with a shared vision. You're going to remind them about terms and concepts, remind them about the webinars, and then preview the next week. So here's the delivery, and I'll go ahead and give it to you. So let me just go through the delivery week one as if it was me doing the education coordinator presentation, and then you can make it your own and we'll work our way through into the second lesson plan. So if it's me, I'm saying something like this. Hey everybody, our Power Team journey starts today. Let's take the first step together with an overview of where we want to go and how we how we're going to get there. Ultimately, the goal is for the Power Team to take the guesswork out of generating referrals for your networking partners and in return for you. So our Power Team certified step-by-step system kicks off with a quick but powerful orientation, which is called boot camp in the workbook. And we're going to have you walking out of the boot camp with two very important tools in your toolbox: how to describe your differentiated value so it can be easily repeated, and describe your target market so it can be easily recognized. So we're going to work our way through the boot camp next week when the BNI director visits and gives the first of the 4 BNI director presentations for the program. But for today, let's just open up the workbook to page 2. And so you're going to ask the group to open up the workbook to page 2, and you'll just explain, here you see lesson plan number 1. Each lesson plan is organized the same way with your goals, action steps, webinars to watch, and note takers for each webinar. Okay, so you can see all that on the page, the goals, the action steps, and the webinars to watch. Now everybody, turn to page 3. And so on page 3, this is the webinar number 1 note taker. And you'll tell the group, I'm not going to review each term and concept. That's covered in good detail in the webinar. Now turn to page 5. So now they're turning to page 5, and you're simply showing them, this is the note taker for webinar number 2. Does everybody see that? Of course, everybody will see that. And now we're going to wrap up by simply saying, my job today is to get you into motion by watching these first 2 webinars, which will take you through page 6 of the Power Team Roadmap workbook. Next week, the BNI Area Director will lead us through a relatively painless but very important boot camp. Even better, we'll all take the next step toward pairing everyone who hasn't already done on their own into groups of 2 or 3 bragging buddies to begin systematically generating referrals for each other. So remember, watch the webinars and come to the meeting next week ready to jumpstart your power team. And that's it. That's the education coordinator's 3 to 5 minute spot. So I'm going to take a moment for feedback or questions. So here's the deal, okay? I'm trying to give you a dialogue that you can use your own words. Week 1. Bottom line is we're just showing people how the thing is set up. Start watching some webinars. We're doing this for a reward. And we're going to look at next week when a lot of things are going to happen when the BNI director comes in. Now, after the meeting, if your region is doing a support after meeting session, what you're going to do is you're actually going to watch the webinar as a group. You're going to watch the webinar as a group. You're going to use the note takers in the workbook as directed. And then you're going to talk about it. And you're going to, go around the room and ask, what does that look like to you? Does anybody have any questions? And have a discussion. Now, I don't want this necessarily to be, you're planning 90 minutes, so you have to stay for 90 minutes. What can happen after the meeting is that if that's the group of go-getters who really want to move, you can go through the lesson plans in advance a little bit and progress as the group would like. But in terms of each week after the meeting, that's where if your group is getting together, you're going to watch the webinars as a group and work through the material as a group. And you can always rely on these deliveries that you see to kind of lead the direction and just slow everything down that you did in 3 to 5 minutes as an education coordinator. Just slow it down. And now that you have the workbook and the webinars as a group, you really have some guidance on how you can work your way through the concepts, through the material systematically, and make it a good, worthwhile training session. So that's what I'll give you right now on Education Coordinator Presentation number 1. And hearing no objections, I'll move swiftly to the next one.